What we'll find is that when we work in Illustrator, that we can take our photographs, place them in, or even our sketches, take them in and use them to cut, to trace, to render, to use as templates for rendering. So what I have right now is I have a photograph that I'm going to place into Illustrator, set it as a template, and work on a pen tool project with the photograph. So first step I do is go to File, Place, and I find the object. I place it in, and here it is up. I can see that's actually extremely large. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I don't want to distort the relationship between the width and the height. So I'm going to come on over. I'm going to grab my black arrow. I'm going to grab one of the corners. I'm going to hold down Shift and reduce the size, release, and then it will fit in. Now, of course, I've made it really small because it's just a heck of a lot easier to see what you're doing when it is that small. So now I'm at 100%. Move on over here. Again, I'll grab my arrow one more time, come to the side, click, and move this in. Now, I think actually when I did that, you always want to make sure that you, and I forget to do this so many times, release the mouse and then release Shift so it doesn't distort the relationship between the width and the height. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Actually, you know what? I might even make it much bigger, so I want to really focus on the flower. Now, whatever's not on the artboard will not be part of the image. It will not print. In the end, we can actually just throw this image out. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to take layer 1, I'm going to double click it. I could lock it, just put on lock it, but if I set it as a template, I hit OK, and there we have it. Now it's kind of more faded out. I'm going to come on into layer 2, and I'm going to focus in on this shape from the dogwood tree and start working with my pen tool. Now you might find that you don't like working with the template because it fades it, and what you could do instead of doing that is turn the template layer off and just lock it. I hit lock there, but you can also just come in and put the lock in that way. So if I click right here, grab my pen tool, and I can just start moving through, click, pull. Now your goal when working with the pen tool is to not have a ton of anchor points, because then it starts to get a little wobbly, right? But kind of pushing them out, pulling out the handles, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm actually going to turn off the fill. That's sometimes one of the problems. I'm going to turn this fill off. I'm going to click, click. Now it's fine if it goes behind it, because I can actually, I'll create another shape. I want to make sure I'm closing my path. Click. Now I can grab my eyedropper and I can click and sample that color. I have my first shape made. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come on in. I'm going to turn the eyeball off on this shape. I'm going to come on in, grab my pen tool one more time, and start to draw. Maybe I'll focus in on this darker shape again. I want to make sure I turn this off. I can actually start kind of down in here, and it's fine if it's not totally exact. I'm going to come on down in here, and I'm trying to translate this whole object into the colors that I'm seeing. So now I have 1 and I have 2. I'm going to turn both of these off again, grab my pen tool one more time, zoom in a little bit, grab my pen tool, and now I want to just get this shape right in here. Again, I want to turn my fill off, come on in, up, this is blocking my way, move this over. Now it looks like when I did that, I disengaged my path that I was working on, so I had to reactivate my path. Come on in, bring this down. Get my eyedropper, click. Now I have my 3 colors, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I can keep on moving through, getting more of these objects done. And eventually, I mean, at first it might seem like, oh my goodness, but when you keep on working, keep working, putting all of this different information in, eventually you'll find that I'm just going to go right behind this because I'll do the leaf in a minute. Eventually you'll find that you'll have a more complete image. All right, moving right along. I'm going to turn this one off. All right, so, and I want to show you something actually. So this is starting to move over here. If I wanted to, I could grab this, move this guy down a little bit. And move around, play with how things are going here, even, taking this shape, making things work a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to do a couple of these and I'll turn this back on in a minute or two, but that is the way that it works. Okay, coming in, getting all of the different information until you have a more complete piece. Now, what else I would do, coming on in, turning this off, maybe even coming in again and getting like another section. There's all this color in here. So let's say that I said, oh, there's all these different colors kind of in through here. I'm just going to come down. This would be a great opportunity too to look at how we also then have to move shapes around. And it doesn't look like I got that there. So let's come in and let's close this shape, grab my eyedropper, sample this color now. But this color, I don't want this color to be right there. And let's actually check for 1 minute. When I turn on this color, oh good, it is, it's different. I want this shape right here to be behind this shape. So what I need to do is I can do a couple things, right? I could take this little shape, I'm going to show you, and I can see that it's right here. I always know that that's where I am because I can see the little red dots there. So I could take it and I could just move it and drop it like so. Let's see. Yep, that's where I want it to be. I think I want it to be one more below. Am I right? All right, so that's more where I want it to be. Or you could also take it, object, arrange, send to back, send backward, and that's how you would do it. Now, but if I took this shape and I went object, arrange, bring forward, it brings it one forward. Bring to front, it brings it all the way to the front. You can always tell that. See, it just went one up, but if you go forward, it would go all the way up. And you can also move it around this way. Whatever's on the top is literally what's on the top. I'm going to keep working on this a little bit more, and we'll turn back this on in a minute so you can see it a little bit more finished. All right, so we can see this is a little bit further along, not that much, but you can see that in Illustrator we have the word object, and all of the different paths that you create are turned into objects, and this is really what they look like. Now, what we can do is we can keep working, and if we always want to go in and see, what does this look like? We want to go onto layer 1 and click it, and there we see it. Now, another thing that's important about placing the layer in, it's important that when it's placed in that you do one of two things. You either make it into the template or that you embed it. Now it's already embedded, which is right up in there, because when I put it into a template, that's what happened. Now, the image should be its own layer. So I have this first part done. I can turn this off. I can say, okay, this is what I have done so far, kind of starting to move together a little bit. You can see that this really just takes time. All right, so I'm going to actually turn this off. I'm going to create a new layer. Now, you don't want to have too many layers, but once you have, a decent amount of information, then I think it is a good idea to start and create a new layer. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to start working over in this section. So again, I start more hitting the letter P with I'm going to start, this is how I do it too. Everyone can do things differently, with more of the overall shape. I turn off the fill, start by just doing an outline. I don't like what I just did. I'm going to try it again. Start by doing an outline, more of just the overall shape, clicking, clicking, getting the overall shape. Okay, now what I just did is I lost my little handle there. So I'm going to pull back in over here. Click, close the shape. Now you can choose a color. I'm going to choose the lighter color and make it all the lighter color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that one off. Now make sure that you don't turn off the whole layer, because see, when you turn off the whole layer and then you come and you try to work on that layer, you get this pencil with the cross line. You don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that you're just turning off where it says path. All right, so now I could come in and I could start taking a look, oops, at this shape and getting the shape of this shadow. So here goes. Grab my pencil, delete my pencil there. I'm going to click. I'm going to do the upper region first. Click, click. And I should turn that off. Click over here, over there. Why not? We'll go up, up. Now another thing that you can do too with your shapes is you can even lower the opacity of them if you would like to. I'm going to come up in here. Doesn't need to be perfect. I'll come down into here. Now again, I know this is going to be behind that, and I know that's going to be behind it because of the way the layers are placed, so I'm not really that worried about that. Click right in here. I can tell I'm going to have to come back into that little area. Clicking this, clicking, clicking, clicking. Why not? I'll come on in, close this up, grab my eyedropper, click, and then I can turn this layer back on. I'm going to turn these two layers off and try to get a little bit more of this information. Now, talking about lowering the opacity, maybe I want to turn this on. Maybe I want to click onto this shape right here, and maybe I want to lower the opacity of this shape to, let's say, 70. Maybe I want to go a little bit lower to 60. We can see what that looks like. All right, now again, to continue to work, I'm going to turn both of these shapes off. I'm going to try to get some of these different areas so I can click. I can see that right in here, it's a little bit lighter and it's got more of like a pinkish color to it. So grab my eyedropper, I could sample that color. I can see if I turn this on, let's see, yeah, it is different, right? Maybe I also want to lower this opacity though, just as I've done with the other shape. I need to have the shape selected, and I believe I had lowered the opacity to 60. Let's turn this on, see what that looks like. Click off. Okay, great. Yeah, it's starting to come together a little bit. Turn this shape back on. I know, wow, it really gets lost though. So I'd say, I thought it was working, but you know what? It gets totally lost. So maybe lowering the opacity is not that great of an idea. Again, as you're working, you kind of make decisions. I'm going to turn this. So what happens is you know, the opacity is going to read through the other shapes. So shift click. There we go. We'll go for 70. Although I still don't like that. I'm going to keep this. All right, I'm just going to keep working. That's the whole story. All right, so let's turn this off and start to see, okay, it's starting to come together little by little. I'll keep working and turn this back on again in a minute. Okay, just to close up this project, here would be an example of something that's a little bit more finished. Again, could come in here and even add a little bit more detail, but you can see as I start turning these different areas, just how this was built within these different sections organized into different layers and ending with the image. So again, I'll turn these all back on for you to see, and then we come in, close this off, and we have a more finished image. There we go. Lots we can do with this pen tool. So keep practicing, trying different things, and I'll end there. Thanks for listening.